Hello everyone and welcome to LEGO Star Wars Hot Takes episode 13. As always, if you have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars that you want me to discuss in next week's video, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. But without further ado, hopping right into it with Thy Kim Young, I'm not trying to pronounce your name. He says the classic Phase 2 clones are actually quite accurate to the 2005 TV show Phase 2 clones. Well, I assume you're talking about the 2003 Clone Wars TV show, and I don't know why I've never even thought of this, but yeah, you're actually right. The helmets of the clone troopers in that show do look almost identical to the classic LEGO Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmets, and this actually makes me question where LEGO got their inspiration for the first Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmets. I'm sure they started designing them at least 2 years prior to when they came out, which would have been 2003, which was when this cartoon came out, so maybe they actually did use this cartoon for inspiration for the helmets. But also at the same time, in 2003, there might have been already rendered images of what the clone troopers would look like in Revenge of the Sith, and LEGO just did not have the technology to make them as accurate as they are today, which is what has been the most popular belief from the community. But the fact that the original LEGO Phase 2 clone troopers are so accurate to the Phase 2 clone troopers in the 2003 Clone Wars cartoon really does make me start to kind of second guess where LEGO got their inspiration for the design from. Derpy Love Muffin says, hot take, a lot of modern renditions of older LEGO Star Wars sets get trashed on because of the reduced scale and less pieces, but even if they are smaller, they have a slicker and more appealing design, while the older ones are more blocky looking. And for the most part, yeah, you're right. For the past few years, a lot of the newer remakes of older sets have been a lot smaller, but the quality and structure of the builds have just been so much better, and they don't even always necessarily have less pieces in the original models. Like with the Jedi Shuttle, the original one had 389 pieces, and the newer one has 601 pieces, but the older model is significantly bigger. And honestly, I do like how LEGO is including more smaller pieces because it adds more detail and makes it way more structurally sound, although on a few sets they've been able to make it the same size as the older model and have more pieces and be more structurally sound. And the best example I can think of is the most recent Ghost. The build is generally the same size as the 2014 model, but it's just so much more detailed and so much more accurate and so much higher quality, and it's the same size. However, the cost of this was, well, the actual cost of the set. The original model has 929 pieces and retailed for $90 US, and the newer model, being the same size, has 1,394 pieces and retails for $160. So basically, LEGO kept it the same size as the original one, but continued to use their newer, modern, more high quality building techniques to make it a lot more detailed and a lot more structurally sound. And of course, the cost of that was it being significantly more expensive, being $160 versus $90, although that doesn't really bother me, and I'm sure it doesn't really bother many other people either. Personally, I don't mind to get a remake of a set that is the same size as the original one, but with a lot more detail and pieces packed in there with a more expensive price tag. And I feel like I'm generally speaking for a lot of other people as well. For instance, the new Coruscant Guard gunship is incredibly well built, although like all of you guys know, it is significantly smaller than the 2013 version, and I think if LEGO made it the same size as the 2013 version while adding the amount of pieces and the amount of detail and bumped the price up maybe $20 or $30 more, that would be completely fine with me. But for the people that aren't willing to pay that much for a set, I get where you're coming from. It is very disappointing to get a very small build compared to the older versions, although I do really like how LEGO is making them a lot more detailed and a lot more high quality. Trollmaster says, I think 2017 is one of the best years of LEGO Star Wars. It might be nostalgia talking, but not only were the builds really high quality, but we also got a lot of good variety like Rogue One, some prequel sets, and I know the movie is iffy, but the Last Jedi sets that came out that year had some good ones like the Resistance Bomber and Kylo's TIE. I never hear people praise it compared to 2008 to 2014. I don't think it's the single best year, but definitely deserves more credit as a LEGO Star Wars year. And I feel like the reason this year does not get that much credit is because, well, it kind of was right in the middle of sort of the sequel era reign of LEGO Star Wars years, which was basically like 2016, 2017 to 2019. But yeah, I do think you're actually right. There were quite a few good sets released this year that weren't even from the sequels. For instance, we got the UCS Snowspeeder remake that year, as well as what is easily the best Y-Wing LEGO has ever made, and then also Rogue One sets like you mentioned, like the Rebel Trooper Battle Pack and the Imperial Trooper Battle Pack, and then obviously the UCS Millennium Falcon remake came out that year. And when speaking of the Last Jedi sets, I mean, there were a few good sets from that opening wave. A lot of people do like Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter, but I've never really liked it that much. In my opinion, I think the best sets from that opening wave was the First Order Star Destroyer, the ATM-6, and the Resistance Bomber. The rest of the sequel sets that came out that year were kind of just like meh to me. I mean, I kind of just feel like that's how all the sequel sets are to the LEGO Star Wars community. I mean, yeah, there were some really good ones here and there, again, like the ATM-6 and the First Order Star Destroyer and the Resistance Bomber, and then some other notable ones like the X-Wings they made. However, I still think it's just hard for people to enjoy these sets because the movies are so bad, and it kind of just takes away anyone's enthusiasm or desire to want and collect these sets. And that's kind of how 2017 to 2019 was, just because there were so many sequel sets. I mean, I get LEGO was making sets that were relevant at the time because that's when the movies were coming out, but today they're kind of just swept under the rug and no one really pays attention to them anymore. And I feel like for specifically 2017, that might have caused people to forget that there were some good sets that were released this year that weren't from the sequels. Again, like the Y-Wing and the UCS Snowspeeder. CACTI09 says, hot take, the Bomb Squad troopers are criminally underrated. They have amazing printing, including the legs, and look great in an army because of how unique they are. And used, they are only $2, also coming from a great battle pack, so all around one of the best troopers in all of LEGO Star Wars. And yes, I completely agree with you. The Bomb Squad troopers are really unique and really cool looking in my opinion. I know they're not seen in large numbers in the Clone Wars, however, a large number of them in LEGO form does look really cool. And I mean, a lot of people did trash on that battle pack because you can't really army build with it because none of the troopers in that battle pack were really seen in large numbers, and neither were they even seen in many battles, so it's not like you could use them in a battle. And in my opinion, I think a battle pack is either to army build or to get a bunch of unique unnamed figures that could fit into a battle. And I feel like this battle pack doesn't really have any of that. It just has some cool unique clone troopers that probably would have fit better in a bigger set, but it is what it is. CDBoy9185 says, hot take, there should be a Jedi battle pack with various head, torso, and leg combinations so people can create their own Jedi. Now, I honestly wouldn't even consider this a hot take, but the only reason I'm including it is because you said battle pack, and I definitely do not think this should be a battle pack. There should not be Jedis in battle pack. I think we all can agree on that. However, as a minifigure pack, I think this would be an amazing idea. Back in the early 2000s, like 2000 and 2001, LEGO had the LEGO Star Wars minifigure packs. There was one that included like Darth Sidious and Darth Vader and Darth Maul, I'm pretty sure, and then one that included like Chewbacca and 2 Scout Troopers, and there are some few other ones as well, and I really think LEGO should start making these again. It would be such a perfect way for people to cheaply get cool and unique characters that aren't in a battle pack and that aren't in a big expensive set. It really is the perfect solution. I hope LEGO is considering this. I have no idea if they're going to do it or not. I just think it'd be a great idea for all characters, especially Jedi. Sussy Shrek 420 says, hot take, Phase 2 Fox is the most menacing clone trooper ever, and it's definitely not the worst clone trooper ever. We've gotten worse, guys. And honestly, man, you have a funny username, but just know, I genuinely cannot think of a more disappointing clone trooper ever than the new Phase 2 Commander Fox. I mean, there might be some that look a little worse, like I mean a little worse. The only one I can think of is maybe the 212 troopers from last year, but those did not have as big of an impact as this Phase 2 Commander Fox does, and it sucks that LEGO messed those up, but it sucks way more that LEGO messed up the Phase 2 Commander Fox, because we've been wanting this figure for almost a decade at this point, and LEGO just completely ruined it. From the pink tinted white prints all over his body to the printed waist cape, it is just not a good figure. He said he's menacing, and I guess you could say that because he's mainly red, and red is a menacing color, I guess. Although if we're talking about clone troopers just being menacing and intimidating looking, I think the most aggressive or menacing looking clone trooper that LEGO has made is definitely the Commander Neo that came out back in 2014. But as for this Commander Fox goes, it is just a huge disappointment, and yeah, I would say it's probably the worst clone trooper LEGO's ever made. Anyways, guys, that's all for this week's episode. As always, if you have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars that you'll make to discuss next week, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.